Thanks for your company. The details now. Political scientists have described as disappointing the Electoral Commission's admission that it possibly has thousands of minors and foreigners in the newly compiled register, a situation they want creates more acrimony among parties and other stakeholders prior to the polls in December. Patrick Stevenson, research analyst with Imani Africa, told Mama Owusu Abuaji on the AM show the EC was better off updating the previous register, while the budget was rather used to improve the work of the National Identification Authority and the Births and Deaths Registry.
I think that the EC's claim that this has been successful has not been based on any superior metric or any superior reasoning. You don't decide after the fact that what you have done is successful or otherwise. We should know what you intended to do, right from get-go. I should also say that the idea that it's difficult or it's challenging for us to read minors off of the register. I don't think it's that complicated at all, because whatever the Electoral Commission is going to do now is what should have been done before. And it's one of the views that we have held and advocated for throughout this entire period, that for anybody to turn 18 years old and get registered on a register, if we even devoted rather than 10% of the resources that went to the Electoral Commission for this exercise and double or triple the capacity of the birth and death registry, and they are building superior biometric systems and systems that are up to date, they should be in the position to tell us who's turning 18 years old in the country or not. And that becomes a primary data that is then used by the Electoral Commission, right? So right from 2012, I should say, we've held the view that if we don't fix the national identification system, things like this will continue to happen. So the EC cannot say there's no better way of reading the system off of minors, or reading the register off of minors who are on there, or foreign nationals who are on there. Regarding foreign nationals, I think the point has got to be made that if the person is not Ghanaian and attempts to register, it's a criminal offense, okay? The Electoral Commission doesn't prosecute criminal offenses in this country. That is the jurisdiction of the security apparatus of the country. So obviously, if we are going to get a clean, sound register that is Ghanaian and belongs to Ghanaians, the Electoral Commissioner must understand that the independence that is guaranteed it depends on its ability to work with other state institutions. So all the people we have already seen the Electoral Commission going around and indicating that being apprehended, that level of forensics and determination is purely a responsibility of the security apparatus of the country. So I guess the point I'm making is that there are existing tools, there are existing regulatory frameworks by which we could have gotten this done without necessarily going through the cycle that we have, and still, end up with a register that still has, minors on there. And if a minor is there, as we speak today, the Electoral Commissioner does not have a system to determine it until independent citizens challenge the person. So if a 17-year-old or 16-year-old, maybe I'm not accusing any political party, through some political shenanigans, has been able to get their name on the register, until somebody says Kweku Mensah or Yamini does not have to be on the register, the Electoral Commissioner doesn't know. There's no way they can determine that with the Birth and Death Registry or some other institution. But then again, the information parameters I was taken during the registration exam doesn't allow that.
Well, senior political scientist with the University of Ghana, Dr. Seidu, encouraged the EC to build consensus as quickly as possible through IPAC to reduce the mistrust that has been created between the Commission and parties.
I was surprised, simply because one of the selling points for the EC's justification for the conduct of a new voters register was the fact that the old register had a lot of foreigners. Actually, they called it the ECOWAS register and not a Ghanaian register. It had a lot of minors who were not legally qualified to vote, having their names in the register. So, but also there was a point that they made about the fact that they needed to add a third security feature, rather than just using the term, the biodata. They needed to add the eyelashes or whatever it was, to strengthen the security system of the registration process, and for that matter, the complete voter register that we're going to have. About 38 down the line of registration and violence and deaths and beatings and destruction of properties, we were told that we still have foreigners in the voters register. And I was wondering, then what happened? The assurances, the deployment of troops in almost all the border areas to prevent people who are not Ghanaians coming in to register. What happened to all these things? The kind of divisiveness that was created by this restricted movement of people across one area to another. Then we are technically back to square one. The EC said they have mechanisms of addressing these challenges. They will be able to get these people out. And I was thinking, why didn't they do it earlier by subjecting Ghanaians to this kind of 38 days of technical hardships? Now, there may be two reasons which they didn't want to admit, that we can never have a voters register that is 100% clean.
Well, we're joined by the Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Seidu Kwaku. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sir.
Good morning, Bernice. How are you?
I'm doing well. Great to have you here. So we've heard from Dr. Seidu. He's actually asking that you meet IPAC as soon as possible. Do you have plans of doing that anytime soon?
Is that who said you need IPAC?
Dr. Seidu, over the concerns that were raised in the latest voter registration exercise.
Is he an IPAC member?
No, but he's a political scientist, and he's actually saying that in order to deal with the mistrust that could possibly come as a result of the possible existence of foreigners and minors in the voter register, you should meet IPAC to discuss the fallout of the exercise.
It seems people are getting the words of Madame wrongly. People have been challenged, and we have 30,000 of those who have been challenged.
Exactly.
And they were challenged based on nationality and age. And the process is that when you are challenged, you will still go ahead and be registered. So when you are registered, you will not be given the ID card. It is when you have finished with the adjudication that the ID card will be given to you.
Okay.
So till we finish with the adjudication, the names are on the list. So the figure that we have given out includes those who have been challenged on nationality and age. So that's what he was talking about.
That's why I used the word possible, because you still haven't determined that yet. But I'm asking so if you have...
That one has nothing to do with IPAC.
Okay.
So what it has to do is go through the adjudication process.
Okay. We understand the adjudication process is very rigorous and takes some time. Now, you're looking at 30,000 people. Unfortunately, because of coronavirus, your calendar has had to be adjusted, and it's become quite problematic for you, as the EC chairperson herself said yesterday. Do you think you have the time to go through the adjudication process for all 30,000 persons?
I would say that most of them have finished, and I believe the last district should finish by the weekend. So the 30,000 adjudication will be completed by the end of this week.
So we understand that the EC has released a schedule for what will take place between yourself, IPAC, and other activities you have to undertake before the December 7 elections. Do you mind running us through just a few of those?
It is not before me, but what I can say is that we are doing exhibition in September. We will do transfer for students and security people in October. We'll do nomination in October, and we'll do the election in December.
Okay, just to focus on a bit of the transfer, you said you would do for students and security officers.
Yes.
And just to satisfy my curiosity, if somebody walks up to a center in September, how are we determining if that person really is a student? I know for security officers, it may be easy for you, but for students, how do you determine?
Every student has a student ID card.
Okay.
So if you want to be transferred, and most of these people are people who have just completed school. So if you completed Legon, you have a Legon ID card. If you completed Infantrim, you have Infantrim ID card. So that you come with your voter ID card plus the student ID card. That will do. Because then there's a new CI, which is CI 127, which has replaced the CI 94 that we have been using for elections. So the new CI allows students and field services to do the transfer.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time this morning. But can you just tell us when the new CI will mature?
It has matured.
It has matured.
It matured last week.
Okay.
So
Sure.
it's in operation now.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Seidu Kweku. Now joining us on Zoom is Dr. Amache Boateng. He's with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. We'd just like him to share his perspective on the issues that have been raised so far regarding the register. Thank you so much, sir, for your time this morning. We heard from the EC yesterday. They talk about how this particular register, when they're done with all the challenges dealing with the adjudication process, this will be a wholly Ghanaian register. They talk about the fact that the turnout was good despite the fears. Your general reaction to how the exercise took place and the fallout?
Let me say thank you for the opportunity and to also say good morning to your viewers. Actually, I think the EC has done a lot of explanation, but I've reason to believe that we still need to get additional information from them, because we anticipated that the challenge processes are over now. If they are now going to go through them, then definitely we can keep our fingers crossed. But then,
we are told it will end by the weekend, by this week.
Okay. You know, these elements that have brought us this far, because of which the EC believed that after going through the outstanding procedures, then we will have an authentic voter register to work with. They were to be expected, given the fact that we're going to go over the exercise with the identification documents that we have. It became interesting when a ruling came out that we couldn't use the birth certificate, although we had used it in acquiring the national identification card. So generally, I think Ghana has an issue, you know, a charge to address to how to come clear with identification of Ghanaians, how to address cases of Ghanaian Togolese, Togolese Ghanaians, Ghanaians Ivorians, Ivorians Ghanaians, and if you like, Ghanaians Burkinabes. These are gray areas. We know for a fact that some Ghanaians have siblings occupying positions of trust in La Côte d'Ivoire, in Togo, in Burkina Faso. So this issue of, you know, preparing a Ghanaian voter register, you know, I mean, the understanding is okay, but we got to come to terms with the fact that we have real challenges, you know, getting this established. The issue of minors having their names on the voter register. How many times are we going to go, you know, on this, what I call merry-go-round? The same issue came up when the first initial voter register was captured. We've gone through this exercise the fourth time this time round. And then we revisiting the same challenge. My understanding is that somebody is not doing, you know, good work for Ghanaians. And I think it is the Electoral Commission. How can the same commission revisit this same issue on 4 occasions and come back to tell Ghanaians that, look, the same problem is there? I think we've got to, you know, look at this, interrogate these issues, and come to some understanding that, you know, the EC, generally speaking, you know, is not capable of giving Ghanaians that sort of authentic voter register Ghanaians need, not necessarily the political party.
All right, Doc, let me just come in here. The issue of dual citizenship, the issue of persons living along Ghana's borders and the borders not being clearly defined. You have people working and living in the different countries. Should that be the EC's problem? Should we not be looking beyond the EC in dealing with that particular issue so that the EC has an easier job when it has to compile register?
If at the end of the work of the EC, the institution comes out, to tell Ghanaians that we have got foreigners on the voter register, then definitely. Whatever it is, the challenge is it has affected the work of the EC. And my argument is that the issue as to who should take responsibility of addressing that issue, notwithstanding, the EC has come face to face with this challenge all the time, and this is the fourth time.
But that's what I'm asking, Dr. Boateng. That's what I'm asking. Is determining the citizenship of somebody the EC's job? I'm thinking about it this way: if we as a country had a better system of determining who a citizen of Ghana was, wouldn't that directly make the work of the EC then easier? Should it be the EC's fault?
The interesting thing that comes out of this, understanding is that at the end of the day, our system is such that we need some other institution, better place to address this issue. So that the whole issue of having to prepare voter register and then from time to time having to come to do mop-up, having to update the voter register, can be addressed once and for all if we really want to, find a solution to this recurring challenge. Whether it is the EC's fault or not, it is hurting our system, and we are doing a merry-go-round. We are doing the voters register all anew a fourth time, and it is 4 times too many.
Okay, the EC tells us that with this current register, we are likely not to have this experience again. But I really appreciate your time. Dr. Amakye Boateng is a political scientist with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. We are really grateful that you could join us, sir.
You're welcome.